Today we're going to show you how to install an ABS delete switch on your 350Z. This will help you break the tires loose easier when doing drifts and burnouts, so stay tuned. So here's a list of tools that you're going to need for this job. You'll need some wire strippers with some pliers, a Phillips head screwdriver with a flathead screwdriver, preferably a smaller one, a trim popper tool, a razor blade, a ratchet with a 10mm on it or some other way to get 10mm fasteners off, a cutoff wheel, which is what we use to cut the notch in the ABS fuse, but I'm sure you could also use the knife if you were dedicated enough. Take a drill and some drill bits. Depending on where you might want to run your wire, you may want to drill a couple holes here and there, maybe one in the grommet to run your wire through the firewall. And then you're going to want a soldering iron with some shrink wrap or some electrical tape to cover your connections, and then you've got some solder with some soldering paste and a brush to get your soldering paste on. You will also need some wire cutters. Also, doesn't hurt to have a couple zip ties when you're dealing with wiring, just to keep everything nice and neat. You're also going to need some wire, probably about 20 to 25 feet, and an on-off switch, just a standard on-off switch. You can find them at Atwoods, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware. All right, so you're gonna want to pull some trim pieces. Where'd you pull that one from?
That is your door trim right here, on the door.
So you pull that off, just pop off?
Yep.
So you just pull up on it, try not to break your clips.
I'm gonna pull this one out as well.
See, your clips are right there.
Look, your foot panel is holding this piece in. And then there's a bolt back there, a little plastic bolt. Nut, my bad. And you need to pull this piece off as well so you can run your switch right here.
So there's some screws on this. There's your first one is right here on the left.
There we go. Pull the seal out of the way as well.
Is that the only one?
Yeah.
So I guess there's just the one screw. So once you pull that out, that's free to drop down.
You can run your wires. You'll run them through the firewall, through the passenger side, and run them through here. That way you don't have to make it look like shit in your engine bay.
All right, so right now he's making a notch in his fuse box right here.
Run the wires off the back side of this modified fuse. It has a notch right here. Run the wires down this little flap. I don't know if it was already broken or what, but I got a pretty good little notch right there. Just run the wires straight through here so I can put the cover back on without it looking like shit.
Ended up taking out some panels on the passenger side too. And now we are running that wire from the firewall to the other side of the car. You can see he's got the panels off underneath in the middle there. These aren't super hard to pull off, so it'll make things a lot easier if you just take those off. If you wanted to put it somewhere else in the dash, you could. You just have to run your wire somewhere else.
So we got the wires ran to our switch here, on and off. For the ABS switch, I ran it through the middle of the dash here, right through here. And I just zip tied the wires up. Make sure you can't see them whenever you put all the plastic panels back up. It goes up through here, through this rubber boot here. I'm gonna run them to my fuse that I modified. I cut a notch in it right here, and these two terminals are bridged, and so you cut them and you'll run wire from this one on this side to this one on this side, and you'll have that switch in between so you can turn it on and off. The reason you don't just pull this whole fuse is because it uses this fuse link here to, for some reason the car won't start. I haven't looked into it too far. I'm gonna swap this fuse out and go ahead and put everything back together.
So here's how you're going to modify your fuse. You're going to clip each of these connections in the middle, and then you want to solder them long ways like that to each other. Okay, so when I solder this, what I do is I kind of wrap it around both of these posts with the wire, and then I use some of this soldering paste right here. Use a brush to sweep it on, and then add some solder to my iron. And then just add a little bit more if you need to. Careful not to melt your plastic on your fuse. And there you go.
Alright, we are soldering the custom switch to the harness that I also made for the switch.
Once you reinstall the fuse, everything is ready to put back together. Go ahead and hop in the car and turn it on, and you're going to be looking for a brake light and ABS light in the bottom left hand corner when you flip the switch, and that means that you are ready to start drifting and doing burnouts. Have fun!
Also, when you turn your switch off here, you can flip your switch back on, but it is not going to turn your ABS back on until you cycle the ignition.